Welcome back, folks, to the Get a Grip on Life podcast. Today in studio, I love in studio, is Kathleen O'Brien, and she's like a super organized lady that helps businesses organize. So I'm a business owner, so I don't know where we're going to go with this one, but we're going to get to that in a second. But before we go there, you're listening to a podcast. You're listening to a really kind of an obscure podcast that not many people. It's not the Joe Rogan Experience. This is Get a Grip on Life podcast. So you're one of 1,000 people, maybe 2,000 people that are going to listen to this or watch this. And that probably means you really like podcasting. And it probably means you've thought about starting your own podcast. And if you've thought about starting your own podcast, you know what? I've done a lot of podcasts, 5 different podcasts I do. And I'll tell you, the hardest part about doing a podcast is not talking to Kathleen. It's not doing the recording. If you're good at this, that's the easy part. That's the fun part. The hard part is all the stuff Scott Walker does that's not related to recording. Production, editing, finding guests, uploading stuff to the internet. All that other housekeeping work that you think, oh, it's not a big deal. I just downloaded an app on my iPhone and now I have the Joe Rogan Experience. It doesn't work that way. It does not work that way. What you got to do is got to go to getagripstudios.com. Fully virtual. You can hire us from anywhere in the world. That's right. It's 2020. You don't need to come somewhere, although I'm very grateful that Kathleen came in today, my favorite way. We can do it virtually, folks. You don't have to come to Victoria Park and Steel. So go to getagripstudios.com. Hey, Kathleen, how's it going?
Great. I'm excited to be here.
I'm excited that you're here as well. Yeah, I love in studio podcasts and I love to talk about businesses, and I'm particularly interested in this professional organizing and now professional organizing in the corporate world. What's it like?
Right.
To do that.
Well, there's a big difference between organizing for residents and organizing for a business. And for me, the niche is stress. How many Canadians are stressed out by their physical space? And that's what we do every day, 5 days a week. Sometimes people are there 80 hours a week. So why shouldn't that space be one where they can walk in, not feel stressed, but instead feel energized and excited to go?
You know what's interesting about stress? You mentioned, I think there's a big difference between stress and anxiety.
Yes.
It's like jealousy and envy. We put them in the same sentence, but they're actually very different.
Right.
Like jealousy and envy are different feelings, very different, right? And stress and anxiety are different. And what I've heard is that neatness, and this is what I've read from books, and you're going to hopefully reinforce this with your experience, is that when people are disorganized and they don't have their schedule planned out, or actually, no, it's the other way around. When people are organized and they have their schedule planned out and what they plan happens, it's a big anxiety reducer, actually.
Right on.
On a regular basis. Like if that happens in their life, if they know that in the calendar, mom's going to cook dinner and then I'm going to go to hockey and then I go to bed at 9 and that happens every day.
Yes.
It's a huge anxiety reducer for people.
Right. But the thing is, even if you have your schedule, you know what's going to happen that day. In a workplace, your boss can come in and change your entire trajectory for the entire day.
I do that to Scott all the time.
So the question is, are you prepared to pivot and do something different? And so if you have all your papers on your desk, for example, and you know what you're going to do today, but something happens and the course changes, are you ready to put those papers aside and do something else? Or is putting those papers aside going to cause a lot of stress so that you can't go forward because there's just too much stuff around? You're not going to find those papers again.
You know what's interesting about that? So it's like we have these email inboxes are like this too.
Yes.
Okay, so I do an email course for my people. I say you're not allowed to have more than 20 emails in your inbox.
Mm-hmm.
You have to deal with them.
Yes.
And the beauty is that in Google, you can search for all sorts of stuff. You don't have to even put it into different files or anything. You can just search for it, right?
Yes.
Based on who sent it to you or some topics that are in it or whatever. But I find like people, sometimes I'll roll in and be helping an employee and they'll have 1,100 emails.
Right.
And I'm like, that's like a pile of paper like this on your desk.
Right. So what's happened with society that because we've moved into a digital world, the physical clutter, the boxes stacked up, the papers piled up, has just transformed for some people into digital clutter. Mm-hmm. So I've had clients who have over 100,000 emails. And if they are people who write reports and they're trying to search for something and they put in that keyword search of report, they get back 34,652 emails, right? So there we go. There's your stress for the day. You can't find what you need.
I'm feeling anxious and stressed just thinking about that. It's funny because how do we, like, it's almost like so for people that are organized, so I think part of being organized is genetic.
I
Can we
agree.
agree?
I agree. Yes.
There are people that it's like, I'm not 6'10". Okay. So I'm not going to play in the NBA
Yes.
unless I have some weirdo, extraordinary physical talent. There's no chance, right?
Yes.
So I think there are people that organization is like that. There are people that are just naturally conscientious and organized. And there are people that are just naturally basket cases when it comes to organization. And I also believe it's not indicative of intelligence. I think whether you're have a proclivity towards organization or not, it has nothing to do with your IQ. Would you agree with that?
I would. As a matter of fact, some people who have ADHD or who are chronically disorganized are one of the most highly intelligent people around. So organization, I agree, is not an innate ability necessarily, just like a sense of direction or a sense of time. Some people just don't get it, or even doing math. If you're right,
that's sad. I think it's a life skill.
It is a life skill. But the good news is that if you have your system set up either by yourself or getting help from a professional organizer, then you can learn. You can follow a system and maintain it, and that is possible.
And is this system do you have a name for this system?
An organizing system.
No, but is it like, is there one system for all? Like, is it this is the system of organization and we tweak it to apply to different people, or is it completely different for different enterprises?
Right. So some organizers will talk about space, so that you're sorting, you're purging, you're accessorizing, you're containerizing, and you're equalizing. That's sort of the acronym of it.
Come again with that. I want to write all those down. So sorting is first?
Yes.
Sorting. Purging.
Accessorizing.
Okay.
Containerizing, and then equalizing.
So that's space.
Oh. Yeah. So the process is that
equalizing was the last one.
Equalizing. So the problem with when people go to organize their papers or sometimes people collect sticky notes or business cards on their desk even, right?
Notes. Oh, I hate sticky notes.
Absolutely. And you lose, you can't even see them anymore when you have a certain amount. But what people often do is they get excited about the containers. So they'll go to Solutions or the dollar store or their favorite place, and they'll bring in all the containers. But that's not the first step, because you don't know what you have yet. You have to get rid of things first. So you have to edit out the clutter.
So it's an either or to start. It's like keep or not keep is what you start with.
Right on. Because then you got to know what you have left.
Yes.
And then that's what you deal with.
You know what I find when people, so first of all, I've interviewed hundreds of people for jobs. I've been an entrepreneur for 20 years. Okay. And I've interviewed hundreds of people. You want to ask someone the question, they're always going to say yes.
Okay.
Are you organized? Nobody ever says, you know what, I'm a messy desk guy.
Yes.
Actually, but I'm really good at sales.
Okay.
But I'm a messy desk, because everybody it's almost like either their ego won't allow them to admit that they need help.
Yes.
Right, which is a problem. That's one type of problem. The other problem is that they're completely disorganized, but they may actually think that they're organized, which is maybe the bigger problem.
A few years ago, there was a study done by the professional organizers in Canada, and they found that 82% of Canadians say that they feel extremely disorganized at their workplace. However, another study showed that Canadians are amongst the top 3 of being happy at work. So there's a real disconnect between Canadians are happy, but they feel extremely disorganized. So what's in between? Where is the connection there? And it's that, in my opinion, people can be very happy at work. They love what they do. Most people, Canadians, do. However, they still feel stressed out by not being organized to get their stuff done.
Yeah, it's interesting because I don't know what I have 2 things. Okay, I'm going to go this way with it. Okay. So you have this idea where, when you're so like organization, the word organized.
Yes.
Okay, so this is an organization in a sense.
Yes.
Right? Like the way, and what we mean by that is it's a hierarchical structured environment.
Right.
with a boss.
Right.
Right. So an organization is capitalistic in its sense, right? It has a head, and then it has these things, and then there's VPs or whatever, and then it goes down. So you have this organization, which is a thing.
Right.
And then you have I hope this is right, I don't know, I'm forgetting my English later, even though I studied at university. You have the idea of becoming organized.
Right.
Right? So they're almost like parallel ideas in a sense. One reinforces the other.
Yes.
Right? So where people's desks are in an office
Yes.
is signaling the hierarchy in the organization.
Right. If you have a corner office, then you have a higher hierarchy.
Yes.
And if you have an open space concept and you're one of many people who sit there, you're probably lower on the totem pole.
Exactly.
However, with the new trend of hoteling, and now with the coronavirus, people being asked to work at home, people are having to find new ways to work. And then we also have that other subsect who are traveling, and they have to find cafes or co-working spaces. So the whole paradigm of where we work and how we can organize ourselves is changing.
Yes, but how do we? So when you go into a place and you're going so you get hired by someone and they, let's say they're a medium-sized enterprise, 50 people.
Yes.
Okay. And there's like an order desk area and a front desk, and then there's like sales or HR or whatever. Where do you start?
It depends where the pain point is.
Okay.
What has gone off the rails? What have you lost control of? In that scenario that you've just talked about, typically what it might be is storage of items, products, boxes full of samples, those kind of things. Mm-hmm. That's typically an area that goes out of control because you have 50 people trying to come up with an idea of how to organize it. And everyone has different ideas. Mm-hmm. So when it starts to get out of control, people just keep up that system. So if they've been taking product out of the box, taking the product but leaving the box behind and not recycling it or moving it out, people just go, it's here anyway. I'll throw this box on top of that box. Mm-hmm. And then on it goes. The next thing you know, you've just got a pile of boxes.
Yeah, I mean, these kind of, it's interesting because I often call them Michael piles. My name is Michael.
Yes.
Yeah, I think you know what I'm talking about.
I know now.
Right?
Yes.
So it's like, this is a pile of stuff that I don't know what to do with.
Yeah.
And it's growing.
Right.
And that's a Michael pile right there.
Yes.
Nobody can touch it.
Yes.
Because I'm the boss, right? And it's getting bigger and bigger. And nobody knows what to do with it, so we just leave it there. But that's a Michael pile right there.
I refer to that as the someday pile.
Someday pile. Okay, that's another way to put it. Yeah.
Because someday I'm gonna go through that pile. Mm-hmm. Someday I'm gonna go through those papers. Mm-hmm. Someday I'm gonna open up that box and see what's inside. Mm-hmm. But that someday doesn't happen for a lot of people, and that's where the problems happen. But they started with unmade decisions. Mm-hmm. That's how the Michael pile grows.
Right.
I don't know what to do with this. I'm gonna put it here.
Yes. Yes, I have a lot of that.
That's your new home. In your mind, that's your new home.
That's my home, the Michael pile.
Yep. That's where everything goes that you don't know where it goes.
Oof.
So it's one and done, right?
But these are corporate problems.
Right.
Like you could have corporate piles of, that's the HR pile. That's the sales pile.
Right.
That's the sample pile.
Yes.
That's this pile. And then this pushes in and it kind of lowers the credibility of the organization in the sense to housekeep its own garbage or something.
There is a reputational element to that this company or these employees have lost control of their space mm-hmm. and of their product. Mm-hmm. Because if you can't find what you need to send out to a client, mm-hmm. well, it's going to cost you money. Mm-hmm. You also have the problem of a company not being able to find what they need. You also have the problem of buying, again, what you already have.
Sure, that's a huge problem.
Absolutely.
Oh, that's a huge problem.
And if you're a general contractor and you've got tools, like big, expensive, heavy tools, and you can't find where they are in the warehouse.
A drill bit can be $5,000 for some of these guys. Right. You know, like a drill bit that does something special. Yeah. That drills through rock or something.
Yeah. You could have a light bulb that small that's worth $200.
Yeah. Oh, easily. I got lots of them in the back I can't find.
Yeah.
So, okay. So how does this stuff start? Like, do people start, are there disorganized people or do they become disorganized? Or they're disorganized corporations, or do they become or is it reflecting the president? Is it like, is there some sort of, is it the mirror image of somebody's, you know what I'm saying here?
Yeah, I do. There's a saying that the fish stinks from the head. And I see this over and over again with my clients, because whatever the boss does is what the employees will follow. And even if that's not their natural tendencies, that is the corporate workspace culture. And it changes. You might not even see it, but it's a social convention. So if you have an open desk policy that the president has instituted, you're going to work really hard to keep things off your desk. But if the boss is more loosey-goosey and just has a tendency to put all the papers in a box and then put the box in the corner of the office, people aren't going to care as much, and they know they're not going to get in trouble. So they'll adopt that strategy. But you can always change.
I think there's a limited amount you can change. I think we can change. I think we can progress is a better way to put it.
Oh, I love that. I don't believe in perfection. I believe in progress.
Yes, I think you can aim for a star. You know what I mean? And go towards it. I don't like the word change at all, actually. I'm getting sick of the word change.
Okay.
I think it's a bad word. It became like a good word for a while, so we need to change. Actually, I'd like to stay the same in some areas.
Would you?
Yeah. I don't want to change, actually. I like things the way they are. In fact, I think people come to Canada because they like Canada.
People love Canada.
Right.
It's one of the best countries in the world.
Exactly. So we don't want to change too much of it. We want to progress.
Right.
We want to adapt to the new world, but we don't want to change, because sometimes when you change, you leave a lot behind. If you progress or you adapt, you kind of take the good things with you and you add things onto it, right?
We can improve.
Exactly.
Yes.
And the idea that, you're shooting for that star or whatever, like a corporate thing, it's like, and the idea of like social convention, that's what I wrote down here. I'm going to try to loop the star into that. So it is a social convention organization. Yeah. It is.
Yes.
And what's interesting about it is like, you may say one thing. So we in society, we put things in writing. Like we have our constitution, and where we have laws that we write things down.
Charter of Rights.
Right. Yeah, we write it down. It's written down. See, it's on the paper, right? Wrote it down here. But then we have the actual mores of our society.
Yes.
Which are unwritten, and they're under the like, for example, you're not supposed to drive past 100 kilometers an hour, but everyone drives 140 on the 407.
Right. It's like the sheep following the leader of the sheep.
Yeah, everyone drives 135 on the 407. You're allowed to. No, you're not. Yes, you are. That's a more that's guiding that, right? The police don't even stop you when you drive by them at 135 kilometers an hour.
Right.
Right. So we have these unwritten things, and in an organization, you can have this situation where, like, no, we're organized and we keep things in the piles, but really the message is maybe different than that. Maybe the message is that we tolerate messiness.
Right. Organization is really about finding a home for something and then being able to access it easily. So when you have systems where that doesn't work, that's when an organization gets into trouble.
Why is it so hard? Because it's actually easier to be organized.
The bigger the organization, the more processes and rules are in place because you have more people. But when it's a smaller organization, even medium to small, you're really relying on people. And again, people don't necessarily have the skills to organize, nor they feel they have the time. They don't often have the interest. It's boring for some people to organize papers or to set up the kitchen in a certain way or to maintain it. And then you have other people who have ADD, ADHD, or who are chronically disorganized. So they actually can't. It just doesn't make sense to them. So for those people, they just have to keep working at it.
So, but what I'm wondering though is, so when you have these systems, there's systems in place, right? And so you're saying larger enterprises tend to be more organized than smaller enterprises?
I think that yes, because you have more people working.
It has to be that way, or it wouldn't exist.
Absolutely. Think of the money you would lose if you weren't organized at the higher level. But when you're starting out, even as a small business owner or solo entrepreneur, or you get into that mid-range, that's when it's most important to have the systems in place. Because if you don't, you will feel it.
You won't be able to grow. It's like chains around your neck.
Right. So, for example, you might have a company that started 10 years ago, and they have paper forms for drivers to fill out, truck drivers.
Sure.
But now it should be
log books or whatever.
Exactly. or in your hours, your timesheets.
Mhm.
But those should all be automated now. Those should be digital.
Mhm.
And you should be able to do your hours from being on the road. But some companies will still have those sheets. You have to fill them out, enter them into a computer program, or drop them in a box. It's inefficient.
It's funny how organization actually, there's a synonym, organization and efficiency. Those are synonyms,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
And it's almost like the organization, which is the structure of the company, and then also the way that it works at the same time. That's almost like a platform that you grow on top of. And if it's not strong, you're going to collapse.
Right. You also have to imagine that there are safety issues with some of this disorganization that's out there. Because if you're dealing with chemicals, or you have a retail outlet with a storage unit that has all kinds of layers of racking,
Mhm.
how do you get up there? Recently, I had a client tell me that instead of using a skyjack or a ladder, they crawl up there 5 stories.
To get up to the stuff.
Yeah, to get up to the top. They,
No, that's not. That's actually illegal.
yes, yes, I agree.
It's certainly against the compliance of the Workplace Safety and Insurance Board or whatever else
Right,
is out there, the
right.
Labor Board and all this kind
But there are companies out there who have not put in certain safety protocols and procedures.
Mhm.
And so they're putting themselves and their staff at risk. So these are the kind of things where you have to be organized in your workspace for people's safety.
I think so. For people's safety, it would be fundamentally the most important thing. I think after people are safe in the environment, I think the reason to do it is because it drives growth, productivity, and profitability.
Right.
Like if you can't find, if you have to buy the $5,000 drill bit every time you need it,
Mhm.
then you're not going to be as competitive as your competitor that knows where the drill bit is.
Right on. Yes.
Yeah,
It actually it costs you money for those kind of things.
for sure. Especially when you're talking about contractors, and I own a contracting company, so I know.
Ah.
Like there's an electrical contracting company here,
Okay.
and I'll tell you, right, like the tool thing,
Yeah.
is a problem, man.
Yes. And you also
Some of those tools are super expensive.
they are.
Like you could have a drill bit like this; it's $450,
Yes.
right? It's
And
like
you also
every time you buy that.
you have to add in the time. If a client needs something right away, instead of just sending the truck to go do that job, you now have to send an employee to Home Depot or wherever to go and buy it,
Mhm.
and then bring it to the
course.
site. Now you're
Yes.
talking about staff time.
Yeah, for sure. A lot of people don't take into account that sort of the labor avoidance that good organization can cause.
Right. So you want to have an inventory system in place, and you want to know when something's out to reorder it so that it's there for you when you need it next.
Mhm.
But again, that time lag can be a real problem.
There's a good way to get rid of this problem. Outsource a lot of your stuff to other companies.
Yes.
It's a good way to do it. But you have to be organized to do that.
Right.
You have to know what it is you're buying from them.
Yes.
Like if you want to outsource it, like a labor, so we have our own electricians, and then we hire subcontractors from time to time to do work on our behalf. We have
Yes.
to be organized in order to hire them effectively,
Right.
right? Like okay, here's what you're going to do. These are the labor. In fact, in some ways, the subcontracting helped us get better with our own employees because it forced us to be more organized. How crazy is that?
Right. Yes. That makes sense to me, though.
Right? It's like now this guy's going to give you a flat price. Well, I can't give you a flat price. Well, why can't you give us a flat price? Because I don't know what I'm supposed to do. Well, here's what you're supposed to do. But in the past, we would send employees and say they would work their way through those. It's interesting that. It's interesting. I think that what you're hitting on, it's almost like a new type of COO needs to be put in place when a company's growing from a small business to a medium-sized business and then beyond. It's like chief organizational officer, not operations officer. Or you need to be
Right.
organized. The organization itself needs someone in charge of making it organized.
Right. So as an example, recently I was putting together 2 rooms and merging it into one, and the company got the rooms mixed up and didn't have a contract to say which room was which. So as I was just finishing, I had a conversation with somebody who said, "Oh, you must be mistaken. You must mean the other way around." So I went back to the client, and it turns out that they'd gotten the room numbers mixed up. So I was merging the 2 rooms into the wrong room.
And what kind of files were these? What was it?
There were over 400 boxes of files.
Banker's boxes.
Yes.
Oh, man.
So over 8,000 files. plus anything else that they were putting in that room for storage. So this was toward the end of the project. So it was just a little tiny detail of which room number, but they got switched and there was no contract. So all that work then had to be reversed. And that cost time and money.
Of course, yeah, for sure. In fact, it probably costs 3 times as much.
Well, you've redone your work.
So you do the work once,
Yes.
and you have to figure out what you did wrong and replan for the new one, and then do it again.
Right on. Yes.
It's like 3.
And it's not quite the same space. So the plan, as you said, is just, it has to be reworked and redesigned.
Is there, so, when I talk about messiness and organization now, like, I'm a victim of my own disorganization, actually, sometimes.
We all are.
Right? Why is it that, I want to talk to you a little bit about motivations. Okay? Because I'm interested in motivations, first of all. But I think a lot of people are sort of ashamed to admit their own motivations sometimes. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes, I do.
Like their true motivations, why they're doing something. I married that guy because he's rich.
Okay.
Right? Like that's a motivation some people have. Right? Like,
yes.
I didn't do it because I'm attracted to him. I didn't do him. It kind of smells bad or whatever, but because he has money. Right? That's why I want security or whatever. People have a hard time admitting their true motivations at times. Why is it that I find, and this is just only my own personal experience, that some people need peer pressure to be organized? So they can be completely organized in their corporate space because of the peer pressure, and then they can be total disasters in their home.
Yes.
Or vice versa. There's different motivations. When you encounter, do you try to figure out these motivations so you can push the right buttons, or how do you handle that perspective?
There's 2 layers to that. There are people's values. So some people know that it's very important to be organized and to have that outward facing, I'm in control kind of feeling around their office space or their workspace. But there's also, as we said before, the corporate culture. How do your colleagues view you if you are organized or if you're not organized? Because we all know of a workspace of somebody we've worked with in the past. And we say, oh, John, have you seen his office? Oh, it's a pigsty. And they assume that he's a pig. He is gross because his office space is cluttered and he can't find anything. But that's not necessarily the case at all. And it also is true that the individual could be neat at home, but messy in the office. It could be a reflection that they have too many duties and they can't keep on top of any kind of organizing system because it's not a value of the company. They don't have time and they're just too stressed out to do anything but their actual work.
Expedient in the moment time.
Right.
They have to do whatever's coming at them, reacting to whatever's coming at them in the moment.
Right.
And that's what's valued by the company.
Right.
Jump on this fire, put out that fire. Jump on this fire, put out that fire.
Right.
Interesting. And some people need help. Absolutely. Like there are high performers that are completely disorganized. And if they were organized, they perform even better.
Right.
Why do they resist the organization sometimes?
A lot of my clients actually end up being CEOs and presidents of companies or, the director positions because they're the people who most need to be organized to do their jobs.
Sure.
It's not that they will resist it. Again, they don't know what to do oftentimes. And then we go back to the 2 main reasons why people become disorganized. They don't know what to do. They haven't made a decision and they don't have a home for anything. Oftentimes they'll have an assistant to support them. So they get help that way. But oftentimes now you don't have an assistant or someone who will do it for you. So then you're left on your own to your own devices.
Do you have a strong disgust mechanism? You know what I'm saying when I say that? It's like some people are not disgusted, by mess. Doesn't bother me. Do you have when you see disorganization, is it like, I don't like that? Like, do you have a disgust response to it?
No.
Or is it just like, let's get this thing figured out? Like, what's the response? Like, what motivates you?
I would say that when I see a messy space, because this is what I do, I untangle messy spaces that are business related. I get excited. I see that and I think, let's go. I want to do this. Let me help you. Let me untangle this. Get it out of your way so that you can focus on what's most important to you right now.
Yes. So the core, so I was thinking about I went to this company, very nice place yesterday with Scott actually to pick up some graphics. And I admire these guys. They built a nice company. It's right around the corner over here. And they made this actually.
Ah, very nice.
They make this kind of graphics. They're in the printing business of all things in 2020. They're a successful printing company.
That's excellent.
If you can imagine that.
Yes.
But impeccably clean space, very beautiful office, everything else, values on the wall. But you know what? I went in there and I read their corporate values and I'm like, I don't know if that's true. Because I know the owners.
Ah, okay.
Right? And not that they're wrong, right? What they wrote. But I was like, they're missing the corporate value of impeccable organization, actually. It's one of their corporate values, clearly. That's not on their wall.
Okay.
Because I've been in their factory. I looked at the light. I'm in the lighting business. I looked at the lighting in their factory. It's clean. Everything's organized. All this stuff is organized. And you can tell someone's thought it through the production process.
Yes.
And all this sort of stuff. And then their rooms are organized and their office looks neat. And things are on the door. And it's nice. It's a nice place to go because it feels orderly.
Yes.
Right? And I felt like that, one of their missing corporate values. Kurt, Premi, you can do it if you're listening to this.
Mm-hmm.
You can do it. But I felt like, having an orderly workplace was a corporate value.
Yes, absolutely.
That I don't share with them, that I think would be a good goal for me.
Mm-hmm.
Like orderliness. And orderliness is cleanliness, but it's also like cleanliness is an intermittent thing. Things get clean and they get dirty. That doesn't mean you're disorganized. You have to clean on a regular basis, right?
Yes.
So cleanliness is about frequency or volume of frequency or whatever. But organization is about process.
You can be organized but messy.
Yes.
Which it seems like it's the complete opposite. But if you have a home for things, but you just haven't put it back, that just means you're messy. It doesn't mean you're disorganized.
Right.
So if you take Saturday morning and you just put everything back, let's say you're in your house, then you're organized again.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So there is a difference. But companies, it depends on what kind of industry they're in. If you're Amazon, you need to be so highly organized in your production to get things out.
Yes.
It's time to the second, right?
So what I'm learning from this is actually like proper organization is a corporate must if you want to grow your business.
Yes. Because it's disorganization that will stop you.
It's like tripping you up, literally and figuratively.
It is a bottleneck. Yes. And it's self-sabotage.
Absolutely. It's a self-inflicted wound.
It is. Yes. And it's up to you if you want to control the bleeding or you want to bleed out.
Yeah. Yeah. It's totally true.
And you can bleed out money.
Oh, it's all money. So I just have to write that down. So it actually is because it's about it is about revenue. It is about gross profit. It is about income. That's what it's about. Because from what I'm learning from this, like I told you, I like to speak to smart people, have subject matter expertise because you learn stuff.
Yeah.
Like when you're speaking to a smart person that doesn't have subject matter expertise, you won't learn anything because you won't have any context.
Right.
Right. So I'm just referring to a conversation we had before we push record, folks. If you're listening. But it's like when you're talking about organization matters at all levels of the profit and loss sheet or the balance sheet. It matters at all. It matters. You can actually earn more profit if you're organized.
Right.
You can actually increase your revenue faster if you're organized.
Mm-hmm.
You can actually buy better and stock better and inventory better if you're organized.
And be open to new processes that come out on the market.
Yes.
So if there's an app that will take pictures of your receipts and you're on the go all the time and you institute that, well, you're going to be getting better returns because you haven't lost any of your receipts. Mm-hmm. Another way that you're making money. But it's also stress level. Like when it comes to tax time, people can't find their receipts. So there we go with the stress and anxiety again.
You know what I do?
What's that?
I take a picture of it and send it to my accountant right away.
Perfect.
That's it, done. And then rip it up. Get out of here.
Yeah.
That paper out of here. Get that paper out of here.
Right. In an organization, you have the upper level of the organization being organized, but within it, you have your employees being organized.
Yeah.
So
is it a mindset though? What is it that you're talking about here? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, you know the question I'm asking? Like, what is it that you're talking about? Because like we're not at the basis of this conversation yet. There's something driving you. There's something you're talking about that we haven't named yet.
I believe that organization in the workplace is not something we've discussed yet. I don't think that it's out there as a really big topic. It should be workshops and seminars and a workplace policy that's made for organizing. That's why I got into it, because I want to help people.
You want to raise the dark curtain.
Right on. I think that it's like when Marie Kondo started talking about organizing and sparking joy in the home, we need to take those same principles.
Bingo. That's exactly
and we
what
need to bring it to work. That's what I'm getting at. And a lot of the second biggest reason that people say that they don't have time, but they want time for, is to plan. Because they're just going all the time doing the things.
Yes.
But what do you really want to make your day great?
It's kind of like that Hard Day's Night thing. You know the song by the Beatles?
Yes.
It's been a hard day's night.
Yes.
I've been working to get the money to buy the things.
Right.
It's like that's what people are doing. They're working. But there's like a sense that there's a hamster on a wheel sense to some of that kind of thing.
Right. Yeah. And now we're sending people home to work at home, either through, costs of real estate. They don't have as many desks. They want to share desks. There's many reasons why companies are doing this, but we're sending people home to be alone. They're going to be isolated. They're not going to have that camaraderie of idea sharing. And hey, what do you think of this graphic that I just did? You're not going to get the feedback and the same human connection. So we're isolating people at home.
Do you know what the most awful thing you could do to someone is? Put them in solitary confinement.
Right. That makes sense.
That's the next to like execution. That's the highest form of punishment humans do to each other.
Yes.
Think about that.
Yes,
Isolation.
That makes sense.
So you want to. So you're a really bad criminal. Like you hurt children. Solitary confinement for you, buddy.
Right.
We're gonna really get you back for that one.
Mm-hmm.
Right. That's how we really punish bad people.
Yes.
And so this idea of working from home is so wonderful. I'm not so sure that most people can do that. I think it's actually very difficult for naked apes to work at home alone.
There are a lot of issues that happen at home, and the biggest barrier is that sometimes employers don't think that you're going to be productive at home, that you're going to go out for a walk 5 times with the dog, that you're going to go and make tea every half an hour, that you're going to do your laundry while you're supposed to be doing work. There's all kinds of negative thoughts from the employer side. However, some people are more productive, but they feel isolated.
Yes. I'm not saying that it is solitary confinement. What I'm saying is that I think there is something to there's a mindset of going to work that a lot of people need. Like, okay, I'm going to use this example. Okay. We're social creatures.
We are.
Okay. So, my daughters want rats. I don't want rats, but apparently rats make great pets. Apparently. Okay. And they had hamsters, so now it's time for a rat. Okay, great. Whatever they want a rat. They have a little baby rat. We're building the rat condo. Guess what? You can't just have one rat. You need 2 rats. Because the rat will die.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Literally, it's like a human in a way sense. It won't live by itself. It has to have another rat.
And we talk about the workforce as being the rat race.
Right. There you go. No, what I'm saying, though, here is that I think some people, in order to get out of bed and get up for work, they need peer pressure. They need to put a tie on. Mm-hmm. Or put her makeup on, get dressed, and go to the place where you get dressed for.
That's why we've seen the rise of co-working spaces. People are tired of working at home, and it's not even doing it to go to the coffee shop because you feel that pressure of buying a coffee.
Sure.
So,
and you can't sit there for 5 hours.
Right. And
Weird.
Even to find a space to plug in your computer to recharge can be difficult. There's
an energy to being around people that causes us to, and I think that energy can be negative, and I think part of the contribution to that negative energy can be a disorganized space. Mm-hmm. So no one would want to go to a disorganized co-working space. That wouldn't exist.
Right.
Where can I sit? Don't know, man.
Yeah.
There's like, you just push that paper off that desk there and you can go there.
Yeah.
Like that's antithetical to the entire idea of a co-working space, actually.
Yeah. No, they're very well thought out. And even the little kitchen there, they've got all the rules on the wall, and they have their organic bin and their recycling bin, and they're all well labeled, and it's very well thought out. It has to be.
It has to be. There's a spiritual. Are you a spiritual person? Or are you an atheist?
Yes, I am.
Yeah. So you believe that like our consciousness goes deeper than evolution, or like, you know what I'm saying? Like there's
Yeah.
something more going on here,
Sure.
right?
Absolutely.
That binds us together, right? As Canadians, for example, that's a consciousness idea.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a line. There's no line on the 49th parallel. Like if you went there, you would just be grass,
Yes.
right? So the idea of being Canadian is a mindset.
Mm-hmm.
It's like who we are.
Mm-hmm.
You're
Yes.
Canadian, I assume, right?
Yes.
Where are you from?
Nova Scotia.
Oh, there you go.
Yep. I'm a good maritimer girl.
Yeah, there you go. So, and so you probably have like an Irish heritage too,
Irish and Scottish, half and half.
right? So that's part of that consciousness, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, how did organization, or this idea, how did you become someone that people pay to help them organize their business? How did that happen? That's not like a career path.
Yeah,
When you're a
no.
kid, like, what do you want to be when you grow up, son or daughter? I want to be someone that organizes corporate spaces for
Right.
people. It's like it's something you stumble into, or you just happenstance upon and start a business to do. Or how did that happen?
I have always gone into a workspace right from the start and organized the filing system. I've done it every job I've always left an excellent filing system behind whenever I've left a job. So that was innate for me. I also look at things from a higher level and think, what's the workflow here? What is a work preference? How does somebody want to do their day? So, besides having an innate ability, I have a passion for helping people. And my particular way is to organize an office space, because we don't concentrate on that. We don't focus on that. We focus on happiness and stress free at home. And I was inspired to do this career. I started out in public relations. I did that for 20 years. Because I watched a show, it was actually Oprah, where one of her guests reorganized a bookshelf. And I thought, this is fascinating. And I jumped up and I tackled it and reorganized it. It was so much fun. This is just the way that I feel like I'm contributing to the world to help people.
But how did it start? Were you like, was your kid, when you were in your room, when you were a kid, was your room like impeccably neat? Or no?
I think it was probably normal. I don't think it wasn't messy, but it wasn't hyper organized. I think that the love of it grew with me as time went. I was always organized. I also have an innate ability to see space. I can look at something and know that it will fit in somewhere without measuring it. It's just this weird thing that I just have. And I have a lot of clients who will argue with me and say, no, that's not going to fit in there. And it always does. It's just an intuitive thing with me too. Mm-hmm. I like to listen to people and hear them of what they're really saying about what they want, and then helping them. For example, some people are visual, or they don't want the door at their back. That freaks them out. They don't want someone approaching them from a door or behind them. So I'll make sure.
I owned a house, a rental property that had the stairs for the master bedroom. Like picture like the front door.
Yes.
Right in front of the front door is stairway straight up.
Okay.
And then at the top there's the door to the master bedroom.
Bad feng shui.
That freaked me out, man.
Yep.
Like someone could just run in your house and kill you. It's like I owned the house, but I never lived there. But I could never live there because of that, like linear front door to the master bedroom alignment. Like your bed is literally aligned with the front door. It felt like even now it gives me the shivers to think about who built that house.
Yeah. So
I'm glad I sold it, by the way. So I had to. It just was bad vibes.
Yeah, yeah.
I didn't like that. It's not weird that I just didn't like that at all.
It's intuitive for all of us, but we just don't challenge it. And that's what I want to do, is want to help people challenge what they're given. So a lot of people go into their first day of work into a workspace, or if you inherited a building like this, and you just get to work. But people don't take the time to think, what's my workflow going to be? What do I need to do in this space? What systems do I need to support what I'm going to do?
Yeah.
And so if you inherit an office, like that example in your back is at the door, move your desk around. People don't even think of it.
Sure.
Or now, it's because the world is digital or becoming digital for some companies. You need that filing cabinet in your space.
Yeah. Sure.
Why don't we get it out and instead put in a little round table with 2 chairs, and you can meet with people? Or if you're in advertising or marketing and you have a fun, funky kind of atmosphere, let's put a popcorn machine in.
So, okay. So like this is getting like totally part of corporate value stuff now too, right? What do you value? I value hard work. So for example, like I I like employees that come to do a job.
Mhm.
I don't want to provide them with the career of their life or any other meaning to their life other than, this is your career. We do a job here. It's not heaven. You know what I'm
Yes.
saying? It's not heaven. And we live in a great country, so there's other places you can go. But what you're talking about is kind of like understanding the corporate culture and then reflecting it into how the space is laid out. I have that correct?
Sure, absolutely. If you have a happy employee who is productive and doing the work because they love to be there and they're even going to put in overtime because they believe in the company and are loyal, well, then you have an excellent employee who's contributing to the company. So why wouldn't you support some of the things that they want in place in order to do their job effectively?
But I don't know how to do that.
Well, that's what I'm doing.
Exactly.
Yes.
That's why people pay you.
Right.
Right. Okay.
So
Now that we figured everything out, it only took an hour. So did you go to university? Like, how did you start all this?
Yes, I went to St. FX University in Nova Scotia.
What did you study?
And I studied English, Bachelor of Arts.
Okay.
My dad was a professor there. He's retired now.
Okay.
And then I went into journalism at King's in Halifax.
Okay.
And that segued into public relations, financial communications, investor relations. So I did that here in Toronto for 20 years. I worked at the University of Toronto for 13 of that. And
in their public relations department?
Yes, alumni relations and corporate communications.
Okay.
And then I fell in love with organizing in 2006. Watching that Oprah show where one of her guests had reorganized that bookshelf, I started looking into it. And professional organizing as a career only started in 1999, 2000.
Mm-hmm.
And there are 600 of us across Canada, 150 in Toronto. And probably on this hand are those who just specialize in business. As far as I know, there are only 2 companies who do it full-time 100%. Mine is one of them.
And what's the name of your company?
How It Stacks Up.
How It Stacks Up. That's right. Yes. I
Yeah.
remember that. I should know this. Read it.
And I called it that because it reflects what people do.
Sure.
They pile paper. They spread papers on the floor, boxes piled up, things that they collect.
You want to know something interesting about men?
I sure do.
One of the ways that men show dominance is by spreading their stuff out.
Yes, that makes sense to me.
So just so you know, Donald Trump has a really messy desk.
I've seen it.
Big, messy desk.
I've seen it.
Right? Because he's like, I don't give a crap. I'm the big dog here.
Yeah.
This is my keys go over here. My phone goes over here, and I'm the big dog. I'm the big shot, right? So that's an interesting idea of the way you spread your space out. But in a way, it's offensive in a way. It's intended to be offensive too. It's like passive aggressive in a sense.
There is the physical way that men will sit with their legs spread on the subway. Man spreader or man. Isn't that what it's called? Man spread. That's what it's called.
That's called. That's a thing.
Man spread. Yeah. So that other people can't sit in the seat beside them because they've taken up the whole space.
I'm a big man. I need to take over this space.
Right. Yeah. But in the office.
That's the big chimp philosophy, by the way.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
The biggest, strongest chimp is in charge.
Right. You can't sit beside me because I need more space than you. I'm special. And so on the floor, when men or anybody spreads papers out, that's also a way that people think. That's how they process information.
True. Yes.
So they're going, okay, I got to do this and I got to do that.
That's temporary.
It depends on the person. I have a client who keeps his papers on the floor and just steps on them or around them every day.
Do you have an easier time working with men or women?
I'm going to be completely honest and say that most of my clients are men, between 40 and 75.
Yeah, I would say that I would say that what you're doing is so here's what's interesting. I often talk about the feminine and the masculine.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm a complete amateur, so I'm going to listen to this. I have no idea what I'm talking about. But you're listening to this podcast, so you're about to hear my weird woo-woo bro science opinion. Here it comes, right?
Mm-hmm.
I believe that that people are a certain percentage feminine and masculine. I think it has nothing to do with their actual physiological makeup.
Okay.
So your ability to assess space is very masculine. So that's a traditionally masculine trait, like spatial recognition and
right.
And like this fits into here. That's not really a feminine thing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes.
So you also have like there's like a a seriousness, and you know what's interesting? I'm just gonna make a little side here. I find a lot of women are very uncomfortable with assertive women.
Mm-hmm.
How's that?
Mm-hmm.
And men aren't. I think a lot of men just don't care about it. They just,
Mm-hmm.
oh, that's great. You're going to take charge. Okay, good. But I think women are more uncomfortable with the results of feminism than men are actually in some instances. Is that crazy? I don't know if what I just said is
Yeah,
crazy.
no, I can see why you'd think that.
Like I have this this accountant that works for me who's a really strong, independent woman who's always willing to speak her mind and doesn't care what anyone thinks, and
Mm-hmm.
you know, just that corporate kind of value there. And then I have another woman that works for me, and she doesn't like that one.
Okay.
And I think it's just because of that. You understand what I mean? She's not being
Yes.
polite or whatever. So you work better with men. I can totally understand that. Because I think what you do is you speak to them in terms of spatially how to organize their space and help them,
Mm-hmm.
but you don't back down from their bullshit at the same time.
I grew up with a dominant father, very strong, confident, very intelligent, and a mother who was humble and quiet and shy.
Mm-hmm.
And I have two brothers. So I grew up in a male dominated home.
Mm-hmm.
So when I was in my early 20s, I did one of those Myers-Briggs tests.
Okay.
And when it came out, the test taker said to me, "I'm just shocked that you're a woman. You answered all these questions like a man."
Yeah, sure.
And so she said, "Pardon me?"
I totally believe that.
Yeah. So she said, you think like a man, because I identified more with the male side of the family because my mother was so humble and quiet and, you know, shy.
Sure.
So that's the way I approach work. I also took another test that showed me to be very strategic and a performer, meaning that in a work situation, I can see the big picture, but I can get the work done. So when I'm working with a man, he's happy to take my direction, but I'm not so aggressive that it affects his ego. He just wants help, and I'm there to help him.
Yeah, you're a beautiful combination of the feminine and the masculine. And that's why people want you around.
Yes. Well, one of the key things with working with clients, you remember you talked about shame?
Yeah, sure, shame. Yeah.
People do feel, men and women, they do feel shame and they feel guilt that they've lost control of their space. And it's gotten to a point where it either affects their reputation, it affects their ability to have a client to sit down in their office because there's no space, or they just feel like somehow they have failed. So it's very important as a professional organizer to not make them feel badly about that. You had asked me a question before about disgust. I'm never disgusted because circumstances happen and things happen, and I don't expect perfection from people. So we just need to figure it out.
I was trying to figure you out because if you had a disgust reaction to it, then you would then the end result would be contempt for people.
Right. And I don't.
And you don't. You have empathy for them.
Right. And I need to have compassion, but I actually do. And I love to help people. I really do. And it just shifted from public relations, where I was writing stories and putting it on the website and dealing with media, to being on the ground level with people, one-on-one, helping them figure out what they really need to get their work done, to feel more productive, but be more productive.
So you've been doing this since 2006.
Yes. So I only did it part-time, though. I still had a full-time job. I just did it for fun.
Fun.
Yeah, on weekends and evenings. And
that's fun.
Yeah, I really did. This proves to me and you how much I actually just really enjoyed it. Yeah. So when friends come over to my house, they would say, "Hey, it's so clean," or "It's so organized." But now that I have been doing this full time for a few years now they say, "Ooh, don't come over to my house." People now feel a little bit more nervous that I would judge them, but I won't. Not at all. I just want to help
hang
people.
Out.
Yeah.
I just want to hang out at someone else's house for once.
Yeah. Yes. And I don't judge. I welcome them. I welcome when they're at my house.
I don't believe you.
No, I don't.
I think you. I'm into judging.
Okay.
Okay, and I've thought a lot about this. And again, if you're listening, you're going to hear my bro science. Okay, but I think we all judge. But I think what you're not doing is passing judgment.
I see the difference. Yeah, okay, I see what you're saying.
Like you're not passing judgment, but you have to judge. You got to be like, this space is totally unorganized and I can really help this person. Anyway, that's a nice glass of wine I'm drinking now. It has to occur to you when you're in places, does it not?
There's an observation there.
That's right.
Absolutely.
So that's a judgment, but you're not passing judgment.
Yeah, I would call it an observation.
Okay.
That's what I would do.
I'll call it a judgment.
We're going to have to disagree, Michael.
Okay, that's all right. It's okay. We're allowed to disagree. So, and then, had you have any employees?
What I do is, in some of the big companies, I hire other professional organizers to work with me as subcontractors. So, on a big job, I've had 11 people.
Wow.
Yeah. So sometimes if a company's going to lease out a space or move, they've got to get rid of a lot of clutter that they don't want to move to the new place.
So that's a time that you come in. So that was my next question. I wanted to have timing, right?
Mm.
So, let's say you're in a marriage. There's a time to go to therapy and not a right time to go to therapy. You know what I'm saying? There's times for things like, I'm a professional therapist for marriage. Well, we don't need you right now. Right? Like right now is not the time. Well, you do need me. Yeah, maybe not. Maybe we got to do some other things first. We're in the middle of other programs that we're working on that are in the way of this. What's the right time for like if someone who runs a business, he's got 25 employees or whatever, and he's really disorganized. It's blocking us, but I got this project. When is the right time for that person to reach out to Kathleen O'Brien and say, I need help?
It's when you reach a crisis, or it's when you're so frustrated that you need help. There's some kind of pain that's happening in your business, either you personally or overall the business, that you think, I can't do this anymore. Sometimes it's something as simple as a clean desk policy. People don't know what to do. Where do I put all this stuff I've been collecting for 25 years? Sometimes it's, I just lost out on a client because he walked in my office, he saw the mess it was and thought, well, why would I hire him? He can't even control his own space. Another example might be somebody who breaks his leg, and he gets to the office, or she gets to the office, and can't move around, and all the files are all over the place, or the boxes, they have to go through all these boxes, but you can't stand. There's something that's happened that makes them think, I need help.
There's a guy, I consider him like a mentor. I've only met him once. His name is Nito Cobain. I read all his books and listened to all his tapes and everything else. Just CDs at the time.
Okay.
No digital back then, 2000 maybe. Back when he started, he has a line that resonates in the situation, and that is, change cannot occur until the pain of staying the same exceeds the pain of change.
Right. That's beautiful. Perfect.
Yeah, it's like that. Like people get there,
Mm-hmm.
in life in a lot of different ways.
And sometimes it gets to a point where you might have mutiny, where the employees say, oh my God, I can't do this anymore.
I can't work here anymore if you don't get this place organized.
Yeah, this is driving me crazy. Like that's the mental clutter, right?
Yeah.
Or I can't find anything. I can't service my clients if I can't find this product. And sometimes it's something else where the company is shifting a direction and we're not going to do this anymore. We're going to do this. And sometimes it's cluttering up a space. You can't use it for anything else. There's a cost of real estate. What's it costing you to store something? So if you have e-waste of these 100-pound UPC boxes,
you wouldn't believe it. So we started one of the things we do is we're the largest, I think, lamp recycler in Toronto, or second largest light bulb recycler. It's a business I run. And so we bring back, if I sold as many light bulbs as I recycle, man, I'd be a very wealthy man. But anyway, so we recycle lots of light bulbs here. And we also started to do batteries and e-waste as well. Kind of went with it, this hard to recycle stuff, right? Mm-hmm. So we started doing, you wouldn't believe the skids of shit people are, part of my language, but that people are sitting on.
Yes. Like they don't know what to do with it.
Computers that are so old, they're worth money again. Mm-hmm. Like I'm telling you, like the CRT monitors that are this long come out from the, pet computers, and it's the stuff I see, but I think, man, that's got to be worth something. That computer is really old, actually. So like this stuff comes out, how do people know what to purge and what not to purge?
That's a great question.
I'll give you an example.
Yes.
Before. So the Apollo program, okay, which is going to the moon. Now I believe they landed on. You can pull that away if you want for a second and take a sip. There you go. Go ahead. So the Apollo program, they went to the moon. I believe they went there. I don't know if you're like a conspiracy theory denier.
I do believe it.
So I believe they went there. And you know what happens whenever I meet someone that says they didn't go to the moon? I always tell them, well, which time? is a fake one because they went 6 times, right? So most people that believe that the moon landing is a sham, they also believe that the U.S. only went to the moon once, right? So I always ask them like, "Oh, but no, what do you mean? Yeah, they went 6. They're claiming 6 landings, bro." So what, like, and they forget. But anyway, that's I'm going into my bro science again here. But listen, uh, they had these software to build these rockets and all the gear that went with it, and they threw out the computers that were specially built for the Apollo program in a purge.
Oh, wow.
So they still have the software.
Okay.
Because at the time they purged, they thought, we can just order another one of these computers from a Hewlett Packard.
Right.
Or whoever built the computers. I don't know who built it. It's probably Hewlett Packard or IBM or something like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then 15 years later, we can't build those rockets anymore even, right? And so they purged these computers and they thought, well, we'll just keep the software and get rid of the computers and then we'll just order another one. So now they can't read the software. Even NASA, in all its brilliance, they don't know what to do with the disks, or they don't have the drives or something. They have to. How do you know when to purge and when not to purge and what to purge?
There are certain questions that you can ask yourself and decide that. But I will say that technology is its own thing, because we keep changing the way that we read technology and the way that we have different machines for that. That is a problem because we keep changing it. So even CDs. Yes. Even CDs and DVD players, right? They become obsolete.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a tough question, and it has to be decided upon individually by the organization. So someone like NASA probably should just keep everything.
And archive it.
And archive it, absolutely. Like they do at probably
police
Disney.
Stations and police, yes.
Films.
Yes.
They're always discovering new film reels.
It's almost like they need a librarian.
And there are archivists and records managers.
Yeah, that's it. There you go. Why are you like a shame exorcist? Is that you come in, you like it's okay to be disorganized. Let's talk about it.
Right.
Let's talk about the fact that we need to start getting rid of some stuff, or it's okay. Show me what you got here, because it's like switching accountants is. I'd rather stand naked in front of you than switch accountants.
Right.
You understand what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
the pain factor of.
It's like I don't want to show another guy all my personal financial disasters or whatever it is, right?
Yeah. I'd like to think of myself as providing guidance to people. Mm-hmm. So I'm not telling them what to do necessarily unless they're asking me to tell them what to do, but I'm guiding them. So here's how we're going to handle this. What do you think about this? Have you thought about that? Let's look at it this way. And then there are times when I have to be a consultant. So at that point, I'll say things like, do you realize that because you're not letting this go, that it's costing you money and it's making your staff crazy because they can't access that particular item or that particular system?
Sure.
So I get them to think about what the ramifications are of keeping clutter, of organizing a certain way, of not changing their processes, of it just depends. So a counselor and a consultant would be accurate.
Yeah, I feel there is there's like an acceptance about you, which makes people comfortable in sharing their space with you.
I'd like to think that, and I find that happens to me personally as well as professionally. People confide in me. I have a very strong sense of secrecy. I have a very strong vault.
I actually think that's a right. People talk about privacy.
Yes.
I actually think it goes beyond privacy. I think secrecy is a right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think it is. It's not in our Charter of Rights, but I think it should be.
Yeah.
I think people have a right to have their secrets.
It's a value of mine.
For sure. I think it's a mores of everybody. I think everybody agrees that people should be allowed to keep things secret.
Mm-hmm.
I think we all agree that. Like if you're adopted, you should be allowed to keep that a secret if you want.
Yeah.
If you know that you're, what I mean? That's maybe a bad example or whatever. Sorry if I offend anybody, but I think that, whatever in your life that you want to keep secret, I think people have a right to keep things secret unless they've agreed otherwise.
Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely. And in a business space, I'm always offering a client a confidentiality agreement because I'm seeing things that have nothing to do with me, but that I might know a company's secret, or sometimes, oftentimes people in an office, they'll have things there that are private.
Sure.
People pay their bills. They have their paycheck. They have their portfolio. They have bills that they're paying for home. They'll have
job offer from the competitor.
Sure. Yeah, they could. But sometimes it's very personal.
Sure.
Sometimes they have a report on their child's psychological well-being.
Sure, yes, of course. They have some prescription medication receipts or something.
Absolutely. They could have a book on alcoholism or very private, intimate things.
Sure.
And so I have to deal with those things in a respectful way that doesn't embarrass them or cause them shame.
You know what's interesting is with this, I've always dreamed in my mind that, I'd like to have an office with desks with no drawers.
Okay.
Because every time I open an employee's desk drawer, it's always full of shit.
Yeah.
Like, it's never organized. It's always just like, this is where I put stuff I don't know where to put.
Right. There we go with the unmade decisions again.
Yeah, or I should just throw out, actually, but I'm not sure if I want to. You understand what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's almost like if you didn't have the opportunity to store anything, you'd probably deal with everything.
I bet you would find people will find some other place to put that. So they'd get a box and put it on the floor beside them.
I think this is going to be my final point. I'm going to ask you here, but should this be a more popular career choice for people?
I would love it if people saw the value of organizing businesses and taking on that career choice of helping people in that way. I think you have to have a passion for it and a level of patience in doing it. But I think that organizing offices and workspaces is just going to get more popular and more important as companies search for ways to be competitive.
I think it's the number, like if your office isn't impeccably organized, I think it might be one of the best ways what you could do to increase productivity.
My argument is you're spending more time at work than you are at home. You're spending 2,000 hours a year at your office or your workspace, wherever it may be.
I spend more time with Joe Carnivale than I do my wife.
Exactly. So why would you have a space that makes you unhappy, that as soon as you walk in, you become stressed and you think, I must get to this someday, right? So why don't you have a space that makes you happy, that makes you feel better, more productive?
Today is the day and now is the time.
Right on.
But how would someone, so let's say there's someone interested like this, and let's say they're not in public relations, but they're in human resources.
Yes.
Or they're
administrative.
They're there and they think, geez, I just want to grab the bull by the horns here and get this place organized. Do they just need to assert themselves and they'll find themselves into this career? Or is there an organization that you're a part of that they can join maybe?
Yes.
And maybe get some certifications to start things off?
Right, yes. The Professional Organizers in Canada is the association for all professional organizers. So you have to take a dozen courses, you can specialize, and then you write an exam at which you have to make 85% to pass.
Okay.
You have to. So it's not...
You have to get an A.
Yeah, basically. So you have to know your stuff. And then there's continuing education. I do sit on the executive of the Professional Organizers in Canada. I've sat there for 3 years because I believe
What's your position?
I am the chapter resources coordinator, which means the librarian. I have all the books.
Organizer of the organizers.
Right on. And
organizer of the organizers, folks. It's here in studio at Get a Grip Studios. There you go.
There you go. So I read as many books as I have. And I'm also the community initiatives coordinator, where we give back to the community. So we do some kind of an organization, Courage or something for a charity. And so we give back to the community. Most recently, we helped Red Door Shelter.
Oh, wow, that's great. How many people are on the board?
There are about 10.
10?
Yes.
So there's like a president, vice president, treasurer, secretary.
Right. And then we have a bunch of members at large.
Members at large.
So we're organized to be organized, to help other people get organized.
Organized to be organized, to help other people get organized. Folks, if you're listening to this right now and you enjoyed it, and you want to organize yourself to do a podcast, you should go to getagripstudios.com, baby. That's right, getagripstudios.com. Every industry needs a podcast, especially one that's subject matter expertise that people can listen to. Because guess what? You don't want to be 25 cents a download. You have to compete with Joe Rogan, get 100 million downloads a month. Yeah, good luck with that. That's tough. But if you were to get, say, 5,000 downloads of people who are in a specific industry, that the only reason people would listen to this is if they were into selling light bulbs every day, or they were into, plumbing supplies or whatever it is out there that you're doing. And so specific subject matter expertise increases the value of a download of a podcast. There's the secret. So go to getagripstudios.com. Scott Wachter here can help you out. Kathleen O'Brien, thank you for coming in studio.
Oh, it's been a pleasure. So nice to talk to you, Michael. Thank you.
Yes, tell everyone your website and all that, how it stacks up.
Howitstacksup.com.
Boom. But
Yeah.
I'm not going to spell it for you folks. Howitstacksup.com. Pretty easy to find. Any social media or anything else?
Yes, I have Instagram where I show a lot of before and afters. And I also have Facebook where I'll show some of the work that I do to help people get organized.
So if you're listening to this right now, just go to the getagriponlife.com website, and we're going to have Kathleen's website there, her social media, or Facebook and Instagram will all be linked there, and you can find her there. And for right now, I'm sure I can speak. And we're very grateful that you listen to this. Thanks very much. Bye for now.